Well, folks, it's just like a convention of guys named Richard. This week, it's an embarrassment of riches in the news. I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, and you are backstage with the crew from Right Angle discussing this week's episodes and what we plan to talk about, not only in the general publicly distributed episodes, but also in our members-only episode, which is this as well, and it is made possible by your contributions, your monthly membership beneficence at billwhittle.com. So thank you for that. This week, a lovely salute there from Mr. Whittle.
Sim Salabim.
That's like, God bless you, Gesundheit. Mr. Whittle, in fact, has this week's members-only episode, so we are going to defer to his wisdom and let him go first.
Well, I got a good story, I think, for the main one. To be honest with you, I haven't really found anything on members that's leaping out to me, so maybe one of you has a spare topic.
I do have a spare topic, and I think it's right up your alley.
There we go.
What is it?
It's Elon Musk's big moonshot launch from Monday night, unless Scott's already taking that one.
No, I'm not. Did you see it, Bill? Did you watch the live cast?
No, I did not even. I thought this launch was coming in a year.
Well, it's coming in 5 years.
Yeah, it's coming 2022, I think, 2023.
Okay.
But he's announced the first private around the moon and back launch with his first passenger, Japanese billionaire. Started off as a punk rock musician, and his name escapes me right now, but it sounds a lot like "You Suck."
Those are the two
really
passengers?
No.
And he's going up with a team of artists, along with the SpaceX crew.
The Japanese entrepreneur, the billionaire, is funding this thing, and he has decided he would like to take a dozen artists, like sculptors and painters and musicians and stuff like that. And you should see this.
It's amazing.
This guy is like a 12-year-old who just suddenly had this great idea, like, let's get a rocket and fly around the moon with a bunch of artists and just see how they react and what kind of art they create.
He's got the money, he's going to do it. Yeah.
Not
big
much.
announcement last night.
I love it.
I love it. The
so you'll
Japanese
have to
guys.
read up in between so you know what the heck you're talking about. But it's such a great story.
My members' show will be about Elon Musk and his plan to send people around the moon. Apparently, this Japanese billionaire has put up the money, and he wants to take artists with him. Yeah.
Where do you find this stuff, Bill?
I'm just so busy researching for the show.
24/7.
It wasn't like I didn't have anything. By the way, it's just probably an opportune time to mention one of the reasons I don't have fresh breaking stories is because we're doing the Bill Whittle Now show every day with my friend Scott Ott. Nothing personal, Steve, who's busy propping up Instapundit. But it's been. Well, we've done 2 in a row, and that's a streak. And
wow.
And I think we got more. We have 4 or 5 in the can. But this satisfies so many of the things that were really just tough for me. I mentioned sometimes on the Stratosphere Lounge, it's just getting tough to write things in general after having done, I think, probably 400 of these firewalls and afterburners. And also, it's just very quickly, is this a problem in my eye, or is that a problem with your eye?
No, my eye was itching, but did you have
I thought I might have had
like an empathetic reaction to that?
No, I thought I might have had like something on my eye. But what the main reason we're doing it the way we're doing it is because, and this in itself is interesting, is that the medium has changed so much. I used to do all of the production values in the suit and the virtual set at PJTV, and we used to wear ties at PJTV and be in little boxes and have graphics and
things swooping around behind us.
Yeah.
I forgot about the bubbles. Remember the bubbles?
Yeah, the infinite plane of despair.
Looked like 20,000 leagues under the sea.
Exactly. So strangely enough, I find that the more I produce a show, the fewer people watch it. But it's true because in the early days of doing this, I thought, and I still believe, and I absolutely don't think there's any question about it, that those kind of production values added credibility. That was my goal. Get in a suit and make it look expensive, or at least well produced. And as more and more content comes out of the internet, more and more people, especially young people, find that as kind of
inauthentic,
a barrier. Yeah, exactly right. Inauthentic. Authenticity now is just kind of immediacy and believability. Any idiot can fake that. And
Bill, one of the comments today on that show on YouTube, one of the guys with an exclamation point said, "This is what I'm paying for." He's a member at BillWhittle.com. He was just so pumped just to hear like that current news commentary from your hot takes, unscripted, uncut.
Nice.
Well, Scotty does a beautiful job with it, and picks tremendous questions, does great follow-ups, and just tease things up for me. I'm glad to hear about that comment. I hadn't read it because with the work I've been doing on this project for Millennials the last year, I know I've been really kind of short on the content for our members, and is just trying to juggle the stuff that's going on in the now, and then another full-time 8-hour, 10-hour a day job dealing with the stuff that's going to go and reach millennials where they are, because they're not here and they're not coming here. So we got to go get them.
There's also a certain element to anybody who's ever been self-employed can fully appreciate. It's like the difference between being self-employed when you have stuff you want to get done, and that stuff tends to fill up and overflow, and working if you've got a shift at Pizza Hut and you've got to clock in at 7 o'clock, you'll be there by 7 o'clock.
That's right.
There's a certain,
that's right.
And as much as I hate being a corporate slave, there is some value to the fact that I have to arrive before 9 o'clock.
Absolutely right. And long-term members and Stratosphere Lounge fans always make reference to Bill time, which is just slightly longer than geological time.
You have
and so I'll say I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be doing that, and look, I just suffer. People say maybe it's ADD, but I can bore down on an issue when I need to. But there's so much stuff going on that, especially with the firewalls, I would get a topic that I liked, and then I'd think about it for a day or two, get ready to write it, and if I would write it, then I had to spend a day pulling pictures, another day post-production. Next thing you know, it's a week after the story breaks, and we're shooting these twice a week, and the reason I think this will continue and not suffer the fate of some other shows, we just ran out of questions for Time Over Target, for example, is because I have actual shoot dates with somebody else who's also going to be there. And when I realized that we've done probably 6,000 episodes of Right Angle and Trifecta,
tons,
I don't think I haven't missed a single week where I wasn't out of town, or just and there weren't many of those. So
and that Bill time thing, but Bill time is not just here on the shows that Bill does. That extends to his personal life as well. I mean, before Bill got married, his relationship with women was best described as radiocarbon dating. I mean, it just was vast spans of time.
Well played. Thank you. But yes, so anyway, we're real excited about that, and I was actually thinking maybe for members I would do like kind of an update on where we're going, so we'll just get it covered here. Also, we have a new website in development, which we expect to be debuting shortly. The one that we've got now has been there for quite a while, and bugs start to appear like, once the first bug appears, it's like a replication error. It's like a smudge on a Xerox copy that you then recopy, and that you then recopy as you get bigger and bigger. Yeah. So we're gonna have a new look. It'll be a lot simpler to run and maintain and look a lot better. So we're real excited about all of that.
By the way, Bill, on that Elon Musk episode, I watched part of the live broadcast, and the Japanese guy was just charming because he speaks, sort of somewhat broken English, and but he's just so excited. He's like a kid in a candy store. He just can't wait for this thing. And then Elon Musk gets up there and sits down with him, and they do a Q&A session, and some New York Times reporter asks him about the progress of this and uses some of the technical language about the tests that they're doing of the BFR and all that kind of stuff. And Elon Musk at one point in his response, in his halting, socially awkward way, says that things got delayed a little bit because the rocket ship that's going to go around the moon, I didn't like the aesthetics of it.
Yeah, and I've seen I've seen the design for the rocket, and I've seen his design for the interplanetary thing, and I got to tell you, I do not like Elon Musk's design aesthetic at all.
I don't care for the look of the Tesla automobiles, except for the Roadster, and they made like 4 of those.
Yeah,
I just thought it was great that he cares.
No, it is, and this is why he's succeeding, because he has the ability to say, no, let's put a red satellite, red car in orbit, and have don't panic on the screen.
Oh wait, Bill, I forgot to tell you the best part. I have to interrupt before I forget.
Sure.
The name of the spaceship going around the moon with the private passengers, Heart of Gold.
Is it really?
It really is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm
So
sure
if it
I'm
gets
just saying
stolen
like
by
I knew what
President
that
Trump
meant.
At launch, don't be too surprised.
What is it? What is the reference to the sci-fi
It's to,
geekery that I've never watched?
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, I actually read that.
Yeah, the ship has the infinite improbability drive, and it never knows where it's going to go. But it's called the Heart of Gold.
Yep.
Nice.
And what's the name of their landing pad? That remote landing pad is "Do You Love Me" or something like that.
Yes.
Of course
Do
I love
still
you.
love me?
Of course I love you.
Do you?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember.
See, that's actually morale building, and
yeah.
so that's great. It's a great topic. They didn't launch anything. They just made the announcement.
Yeah, it's going to be like like Steve said, 22 or 23 is when they.
No,
plan
I heard
to do
the announcement. I heard that they'd announced the crew and stuff. So how many people are going total?
More than a dozen.
Yeah, it's the billionaire and 12 artists that are his special guests.
He's got that kind of capability on that thing. He
Yes.
could take 12 people on
It
it.
is the big
damn.
Falcon spaceship.
That's right, BFR. But Musk said when he talked about it, they asked him, how they decided to do this or whatever, and he literally kind of awkwardly giggled at the risk, because we're going to send all these great artists up into space, and things could go wrong, and then we'd suddenly lose like a generation's worth of great artists. But he very seriously, he's like, well, we originally thought that maybe we would send 100 people up, but then we thought, well, that's a little risky at the first attempt like this, and but apparently that's like he doesn't want space travel to be something that astronauts do. He wants space travel to be like Delta Airlines.
I may have a chance yet.
That's right.
That's terrific. Okay, great. So that's fantastic. And then for the main one, I've been on this before, but I think I think it's so important that I just need to keep coming back there. I think I might call this episode "Female Troubles." They released the trailer for Captain Marvel.
Oh yes,
which is this, absolutely humorless, absolutely personality-free, extremely fierce, manly woman, kicking everybody's butt.
Oh, she's cute. Who are you kidding?
Okay, fine. There's a picture from the new Terminator movie. You'll be pleased to know that the new Terminator is a woman. There is Doctor Who. The new Doctor Who is a woman. And there's significant talk about the new James Bond being a woman.
Or black.
Or a black woman.
Yeah.
So the reason this is important is twofold. First of all, it's a great example of social engineering right in front of our eyes. This is what you are going to believe, whether it makes any money or not. We don't care. The Ghostbusters was a catastrophe. Ocean's 8 wasn't financial catastrophe, but is well below the other three. But it's just this social engineering, and it's this kind of, I think it's the result of the self-esteem movement. I think it's all the self-esteem kids having grown up to young adulthood, which is the kind of children they employ over in Hollywood. And basically they're saying, well, it'd be really cool if women could kick butt the way men can, and be the stars of all these action movies. And just because they don't in real life, if we show enough movies of women kicking butt, then there will be an equal number of women butt kickers. And this is the same argument for STEM and all the rest of it. But the bigger point is a much more important point. The bigger point is non-political young people who lean left like all young people do have had enough of this. I've said this from the very first day I started on television. The pop culture is not just a subset of everything else. It's the battlefield upon which everything is fought. And in a post-Christian America, the pop culture is the religion. It's the mythology. It's the entire heartbeat and language of the culture. And when you have this generation of millennials that are going to vote we carry Utah, and that's it. They're just a blue wave. You need to understand what they're thinking. And one of the things they're thinking is that since they don't have any, they're not allowed to have religion. Obviously, if they have religion, they're racist and homophobes and misogynists and undoubtedly, and idiots too. So something has to fill the place of that religion, and Star Wars is the biggest player in it. But I realize it's bigger than that. The pop culture fills the role of religion for these kids, and they're children, and they never grew up. They never had to face hardship. They never had to, deal with losing Little League games because they never kept score in Little League games. And so if I first noticed this, I want to say 10 or 15 years ago. I think what's happening is with this millennial generation is that they're bringing their childhood with them because, number one, there is no such thing for these people and then it became time to put away childish things. They've been so coddled and so reduced of initiative that day's not coming. But they bring their childhood with them, and they cling to these childhood things with the same passion that most people cling to religion. And the left is destroying that religion. They destroyed Star Wars. They destroyed Star Trek. They destroyed Ghostbusters. Now Terminator, and then and Doctor Who. They've destroyed it. They've destroyed it by making it into a medicine that you will take whether you like it or not. And they will keep feeding this medicine down your throat until you agree with them that this is really awesome.
And Bill, I would disagree with that. The fact that they're not allowed to have religion, they're not allowed to have biblical monotheistic religion. They're allowed to have all kinds of pagan ritual. I mean, what was Star Wars if not a spiritual movie?
I was talking about real religion.
Yeah. What was Wonder Woman? I mean, Wonder Woman essentially was a cult. Thor, Loki. These are gods. These are these
Black
these
Panther.
movies.
There's this mythical African civilization that exists behind this invisibility bubble. And,
that's right.
And
those movies are replete with religion, which is basically this kind of yin and yang struggle between good and evil. What they don't permit is the idea of biblical monotheism or Jesus Christ or anything like that.
Well, which gets into the kind of the third aspect of it. I don't know how much time we're going to have, but it really becomes, when they talk about social justice warriors ruining all these things, what they're really saying is they're ruining all these things because of the interjection of radical feminism. It's almost exclusively feminism that's killing all of these things. Marvel sales, as somebody was saying, they're down to like 20,000 per edition, 20,000 copies given to comic book stores.
30,000 is a hit now.
Yeah.
Regular titles used to sell twice that many, non-hit titles.
Yeah, and so the other thing I think people need to understand is that you think that the left would say, well, we're losing money on this, so we'd better change our tune. But it's not about the money. It's about the social engineering, and that will trump everything. It will kill Star Wars. It killed Star Trek. It killed all of them. Just killed them dead. And but my political point here is that the country every day becomes more and more primed for conservatives to just move into this space and say, aren't you tired of this being whipped around and being told you're a rapist and what car to drive and what you can say, and just haven't you had enough of these weenies, just running your life? It's time to say goodbye to all of this crap and get back to what makes storytelling good, which is a good story. By the way, my favorite movie is Aliens, and Ripley in that movie is as strong a woman character as there's ever been. I was going
to bring her up in the
Please
segment.
Do. We're practically doing the whole show here, but please do, because it's not about powerful women, and it's never been about powerful women. No. Princess Leia was a powerful woman. Yep. It's about
you mean General?
General Leia. It's about the intentional destruction of masculinity, and several writers have said of that first picture of from the Terminator. They said the beautiful thing about this picture, the most amazing thing about this picture, and the thing that's got me most excited about the reboot is there's no men in it. And it's like, no, I have no doubt there's no men in your life and in your office either. Because if there were, they wouldn't sit for that, If I put a picture out of a movie I'm making and there's three guys and I say the best thing about this picture is there's no women in it, So anyway,
it's all about payback. They'll
all
defile
about
anything to get their payback.
Yes, and it's all about. I think it's ultimately all about envy and wishful thinking.
Yeah, and I think it's not just strong women characters because, for example, one of my wife's favorite characters is Lara Croft in Tomb Raider. And she loves to sort of have that little fantasy in her mind about, running through the jungle and beating the enemy and, accomplishing
that's the thing.
acts of daring do. And
when they created,
she's a climber.
When they created Lara Croft, they created Lara Croft. They didn't make an Indiana Jones movie, but stick a female in the role.
That's exactly precisely correct, and this is entirely the point. Yes, it wasn't Indiana Anna Jones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was
Indiana Hannah.
It was a unique character. And what is she doing? She's climbing rocks and poking into ruins, and she's got two 45 automatics.
That's
and
right.
And I got no problem whatsoever with women
she's-
using two
she's
45 automatics against these guys. But this idea that when a society has determined that the only image of its warriors are going to be female warriors, and that the entire idea of male warriors has to be removed as toxic masculinity.
Yeah,
you're
doomed.
dealing with a society that doesn't have much time left as it exists. That doesn't mean America's done, but this thing is approaching a climax.
Hey, a quick question for you guys. I was really disappointed in the Tomb Raider reboot movie. There just didn't seem to be anything particularly Lara Croft about the actress. Am I the only one
Zero
who feels
personality, no charisma, nothing.
Yeah.
Just zero.
Yeah, and I think Angelina looked like she could take somebody, but the stick figure that they hired to replace her didn't.
Also,
look like
she
that.
brought
She was very
character
good.
and joy to the role.
Yeah,
She's
and
out there
Angelina
swinging
could
off
act.
way
rocks,
too
having
serious
fun.
Yeah. By the
They
way,
don't know how to have fun. They're feminists.
Speaking of women like this, and I've deleted the story from my Instapaper where I save stuff, but just this month, I believe September 5th, we lost. I believe she was Dutch, but I'm not sure. A woman who was part of the resistance during World War II when she was like 14 years old.
Wow.
And she signed on to be part of the resistance to do things like carry out surveillance, to blow up bridges and things like that. And because she looked like a 12-year-old, she was able to ride around on a bicycle with her pigtails, and the Nazis, kind of didn't really pay attention to her. And then as time went on, she would actually go into bars and things like that and ask soldiers if they wanted to take a little stroll in the woods. And so when they took a little stroll with her, they didn't come back. And so she never, they've asked her over the years, how many men do you think you killed? How many Nazis do you think you killed? And she said, a soldier doesn't brag about that kind of thing. And she said, that's referring to herself. And she said, frankly, every time you do it, there is a sense in which when you see the man fall, you want to pick him up. And she never lost her humanity about it, But, here's a true hero. What a movie that would be.
Imagine.
So anyway.
Imagine.
And she also used her femininity in a warrior type way. They didn't just make her a man with boobs.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Or
what we
boots.
got now.
All right. Speaking of a man with boots, Stephen Green, you've got something. You've got something to do here this week, don't you?
I do. I want to talk about the Project Veritas video that was released today. This is Tuesday. State Department employee named Stuart Cafala. They got him on tape admitting that not only is he part of the Democratic Socialists of America, who is infusing his work with DSA stuff, but in very tricky ways so as not to get caught. We'll get to that. But he also says that he's a part of the deep state, and you have to assume he's not alone, will do anything to stop Trump and F things up. And we're going to talk about...
it was actually like 3 words, 2 of which had to be bleeped in that sentence.
Yeah.
S up.
Now, the long version of this video is a little too long, I suspect.
Yeah.
But I pulled a couple of short clips from the short version, which is only about 2.5 minutes long, so we should probably include a link to that in case there's anybody who hasn't seen the whole thing. And it's fascinating because here's a guy who doesn't seem particularly bright. He's a little drunk. And
He's a socialist.
Yeah.
Of course, he's not particularly bright.
And just blathering on, bragging about how not just he gets away with this stuff, but about how all of his ethics forms and whatnot are, in his words, rubber stamped by his higher-ups. So clearly this guy is not alone.
And I love my James O'Keefe.
And for those of you looking to hire a talented young man who's crafty and comes up with new ways of getting things done, he'll be out on the streets pretty soon.
No, he won't. I don't think anything's going to happen to this guy.
Well, that's what he said. He said federal employees can't be
yeah.
fired. That's right. He says it in the undercover video.
Yes. We're living in an age. Okay, the Hatch Act, number one, makes it illegal for federal employees to engage in partisan activities at work, and he admits to doing all that, just being a little devious about it. So, number one, that's fireable. Number two, shoot, I just forgot what number two was. He feels safe enough blathering on about it to strangers or near strangers at a bar. And I think those two things together tell us that probably the worst thing that will happen to this guy, even though he's breaking the Hatch Act, will be a lucrative book deal.
By the way, I guess now is as good a time as any to tell you guys that for the past 9 years, I've been working undercover for James O'Keefe, secretly recording all of the interactions that we have here on a weekly basis.
And you got nothing.
Well, that's why I keep doing it. It's 9 years and I still can't go public.
Yeah. Keep
Prove
at
it, copper.
That's right. Well, okay, so here's what I'd like to do on my episode this week. And, I am, of course, the host among the three of us here who really knows how to bring sexy back. And so I would like to talk about some legislation that has been proposed. I assume at least it's been news released. Now, you know how legislators are. They news release something and then you go, oh, where's the bill? And you're like, well, we're in the process of drafting the bill or whatever.
We just thought we'd test the waters
That's
first.
Exactly. This is floating a trial balloon for this. But Ben Sasse plans to introduce a package of legislation that will, the idea is to reform government. He said, hey, if you're going to drain the swamp, let's get serious about draining the swamp. And so I'm going to review just quick notes of what this contains, this legislation. It's going to require presidential and vice presidential candidates to disclose their tax returns. There's going to be a lifetime ban on members of Congress making money from lobbying. It's going to prohibit members of Congress from buying and selling stock during their time in office. Actually, it may be cabinet members for that as well. And you know how the Congress has been paying to make settlements to women who make accusations or people who make accusations of
like $117 million or something like this?
Yeah. Well, apparently this legislation will say that the members need to pay settlements out of their own pockets and they need to reimburse the taxpayer-funded settlements that have already been made. And then they're also going to create a public database of those settlements so that people can access what has, the money that's been paid out to cover up these ethical violations, these crimes. And we're going to prohibit members of the cabinet and their immediate families from soliciting donations from foreign sources. Ouch, Clintons. Ouch, that's going to hurt. Anyway, so this is I thought, it's Ben Sasse basically putting feet to Donald Trump's general promise of draining the swamp. And
don't those two hate each other?
He makes overt reference to the fact that this is about draining the swamp. Sasse does. Yeah. And he also says that he thinks that the president should have disclosed his tax forms and kind of takes a poke at him for saying throughout the campaign that he was going to release his tax forms. And then after the election said, well, nobody cares now anyway, so he never did. But anyway, so I thought that this was an interesting start to that. Now, whether you can get this through Congress, because, half the people in Congress, I think, are there for what happens after they're done in Congress.
It's kind of like asking the inmates for a vote on tougher discipline, though, isn't it? I mean,
solitary confinement for everybody.
That's right. So, I mean, but isn't this isn't this the kind of thing that Republicans and conservatives expected when we say things like,
absolutely.
Let's drain the swamp?
Drain the swamp.
Yeah.
And I think
it's a very small start.
There was another aspect. He didn't mention this, but for years I've thought, the reason why congressmen get huge donations from corporations and organizations is because it is perceived that an individual member of Congress or the Senate can actually pull some strings and get something put into a bill that would create a cash stream or a break of some sort for these people. And I just think it should not at all be possible for an individual congressman to do that. I don't think there should be any omnibus bills where, I've put my little perk in there, you've put your little perk in there, and it's all going to get passed because we got to pass it. It's the budget or whatever.
Logs don't roll themselves, Scotty.
That's right. Anyway, so I was greatly encouraged by this list, and I just kind of like to kick that around, and any other suggestions you guys have, and then also any prognostications you have about how this might go in a vote of the full House or Senate.
I like it.
I see Ben Sasse and Donald Trump embracing as warmly as Donald Trump embraced Kim Jong-un. I think I see that in the future. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our backstage pre-production meeting of Right Angle. It is time for us to shoot these episodes now and to roll them out during the course of this week. And as we've been rolling them out, you've been rolling them out and letting people know about them, sharing them on social media. You have been faithfully contributing to this enterprise, as well as luring other people into the fold by saying, hey, take a look at this. Can you believe these guys? And we appreciate that. Yeah, little by little, this movement is growing. And, as Bill just said this week, because of your contributions, we're able to roll out new programming like Bill Whittle Now, which just started this week. So look forward to more great content like that. And we appreciate...
And we'll be taking... And Scott did an interview that we'll be running. And there's another friend of ours who had a really interesting piece on gender and gender identities. So I wanted to wait until I had some of my new content out before I rolled in other people, because then people think I've just completely disappeared. But yeah, it's going to be great. I'm like Harry Seldon. I appear as a hologram once every 7 or 8 years and reassure everybody that the course is sound, and then I disappear again until the next crisis.
It's not a bad thing, though, Bill, because I think I remember years ago reading books about church planting and church growth, and one of the things they talked about was how pastors need to learn to make the transition from being a farmer to a rancher. And a farmer is personally doing most of the work that's on the farm, very directly. But a rancher oversees, the sheep herder and the person who tends to the hogs and stuff like that. And so at some point, it's not that you stop producing content, but you still do great content. But you also need to be able to, if you're going to increase your output, you only have 24 hours in a day. And so
when people see, I'm sorry, Scotty.
No, that's it. I'm done.
I just bit you right off. I'm sorry.
I didn't have anything else.
When people see what I've spent the last year working on and why, they may not agree with it, but they'll know that work was there. And
I'm dying to see this.
We'll see.
Yeah.
And it is the time machine that produces more than 24 hours in a day for Bill Whittle. That's awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for Stephen Green and Bill Whittle, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.